Alright, this update on the Studebaker is a long time coming. I've actually had it done for quite a while. I just haven't had the chance to finish the video up. But we work on the fiberglass front end. The fiberglass front end I bought actually shortly after I had purchased the car because we knew what we were going to do with it. And I just had it stored away for a while. But it's a Class Glass Performance company made the front end. It's pretty good quality fiberglass. Still needed work like most fiberglass does, but it wasn't really that bad. The worst part about it was the front end didn't really fit the car very good because you could have made it fit any car because it was so flimsy. So we had to add a little bit of reinforcement to it. But as far as the quality goes, it was good quality fiberglass. The deck lid's the same company too. It's a bolt-on. The front end was a pin-on. And we're going to end up doing some stuff to make it fit the car really good and won't have any visible pins showing on it. So that'll be another video later. But in this one, you just see what we kind of had to do to reinforce the fiberglass, make it fit the contour of the car properly and stay in shape. I've never messed with fiberglass much, but I had a family member who used to build boats for a living, and so he was a real good help for us on guiding us on what to do, and it kind of went off without a hitch, more or less. Wasn't too big of a learning curve, and we got it figured out pretty quick, and it's pretty easy to me now. So anyways, take a look at this and get back with you. We are working on part of the fiberglass hood. This is the old steel hood. The fiberglass hood is really flimsy, so we're going to cut the back of this hood off right here, and we're going to match it up to the other hood so we can put some reinforcement in the fiberglass and use this back part as a pattern since it's the right curvature we need. So we're getting ready to cut this out. Right, we got this piece of junk cut off back here. It's full of Bondo over there. Let's see how thick they applied the Bondo. Hopefully it's good up in here. Got a big gap there, though.
Yeah, you can see there how high it is here. What about there where that crack's at, whatever that is? Well, you've got a bunch of Bondo in here.
What if we bend it down a little bit?
That's what I'm thinking.
It doesn't quite fit the cowl. We bent it there a little bit, so now it needs to be bent down here. And we're using our 60, 70-year-old metal bender here. Try and get it a little closer.
There you go.
See how bending this in the tree, you can see mine's really good up at the cowl.
Where you at over there?
Right on the edge.
Got a ½ inch in over here.
Huh.
Evidently it fit as good as all the other body parts.
Getting ready to glass in a support for the back of the hood so it'll keep the shape. Remember, this is the piece of the original hood we cut out to keep the shape. We got it clamped on that hood so the hood will be the correct shape. Glued the foam on there and we'll be glassing over it, and here is our test pieces we did. Before we started, we just did a test run on this board. That foam's a little thicker than what we ended up putting on the hood, but you can see it's pretty strong. That's 3 layers of glass, 1 matte, or 2 matte and 1 cloth. Layer of glass on now, trying to get all the air out of it. Alright, we got this second layer of fiberglass all put in. It's now in the curing stage. Went a little better than the first layer did. Need a little more about what we're doing. So hopefully tomorrow this will be dried and be about ready to put the final layer on. Alright, we got the front end sitting on the car. It's not made on or nothing. We finished up the fiberglass on the back of the hood. Got our curvature pretty close. We spent about 4 or 5 hours bolting the hood to the fenders. There was a little flange on the hood and a flange on the fender. And we got the hood and fenders lined up as close as we could and got them bolted up. We're going to have to do a little bit of glass work back in here. You can see there's a gap right there, so we're going to glass it up to there on the fender. Leave a gap there. We're going to try and leave this whole gap there to make it look like the hood comes off. But the hood will not come off. It'll just be a full tilt, one piece front end. And then we're going to build up some more fiberglass under here so we can grind that down and get a gap on it, because it's about the same way over here. This side actually has a little bigger gap on the fender. So we'll get the fenders divided up to where the hood's in the same spot on both sides, and then modify this part here to match up with it. We did make some adjustable pieces right here. You can see the slides on there, in there. It's kind of hard to see. And then just rest on there. And that piece right there, where that nut, an encapsulated nut, is slotted on the back side, so we can slide that piece up and down too. So we can slide this forward, backwards, up and down to get the right tilt we need on the front end to line up with the doors. Our next step is going to be putting the doors back on, getting them as close as we can, and that way we can work on the front end, get it set where we want it, and figure out how we're going to do our mounting mechanism for the flip-up front end. You can see we moved the car forward. I've been doing some fitting on the doors, got the doors lined up pretty much where we want them, and then we figured out what all the hoods and fenders are going to need. The fender has just a little bit of the wrong shape to match up with the door, as you can see. It's a little high here, a little low there. We notice the door's got a bend right there. We'll have to straighten that out. And since we want the fenders to match the door, we ended up making a wood pattern that we're going to clamp in the fenders on each side, and then glass it with the support in there to help hold the shape. Let's see here. It's our pattern there, inner and outer, and then we're going to reinforce the outside of that with some metal to keep it from bending or bowing. And that's pretty much our next step. We took our pattern off of the fiberglass fender that came on the car that we didn't know was fiberglass. It matched up really well. So we just used that for the pattern, and believe it or not, it took several tries to get it right before we had a good method to get a copy of the pattern. But we got it now. You can see here another pattern, that was wrong. Another start, that was wrong. And then all that wood down there, they were all wrong. Until we finally figured it out. So that's where we're at. I was going to show you how I had this arranged here. That's the inner and outer mold or buck or whatever you want to call it, where we're going to clamp it together. I got one. Yeah, I got one clamp just sitting there, kind of holding it together. You can see it took pretty well to the contour of the other fender. We're going to put some steel tubing across the top there and down at the bottom. We'll screw it into the wood, and then we'll clamp it, so that way the wood won't move on us and the steel should hold it. And then we're going to run another reinforcement piece like this. That's the one that we put in last week. Similar to that. This won't be the piece we use though. It'll go in there, and then we'll glass it in to help try and keep the shape of the fender. It'll probably spring back some, but hopefully it won't be enough to matter. So our next step is to cut the orange foam to the desired shape we want it. We've been working on the front end, getting the front fender reinforced. You can see there, like I showed last time, the reinforcement we did on the hood. Then this is the jig that I made up. Then we clamped it down there and started glassing it in. We laid one layer of fiberglass under the foam first. The next day we came back, glued the foam down to the fiberglass, put 2 layers over the top of it. And then yesterday we finished up with 2 more layers. We did First we put mat down, then the foam, then a layer of mat, then a layer of cloth, then 2 more layers of mat. And that's what it looks like right now. Alright, gonna try taking this thing off, see what happens, if we're a success or if we're a failure. Hopefully it'll be a success. There's a piece of all thread, have a lock nut up here and non-lock nut down here. Ooh, actually came out pretty easy compared to what it was the other day. This out. There we go. And looks like it pretty much held the shape. You can see when you push it down. Stiffen that fender up a lot. That's pretty much the shape. If you pull that up, it's right in. So I think we might have accomplished our goal. We won't know until we set it on the car, but
Success.
looks pretty good. Alright, here the front end is sitting on the car. This is the side we just did. This now lines up really good with the door. I have to push it down. It is hitting one little spot on our reinforcement. We'll have to notch it and re-glass it just a little bit right down there where it's hitting. So re-glass that, should be good to go. Alright, we're just roughing up, this is the other side, roughing up the fiberglass here so we can lay a fresh coat of mat down on it. That'll be our base. Then we'll do the foam after we do that. So right now we're just roughing this up so the fiberglass will stick to it. Alright, I got the foam laid down. Then we put a layer of mat, and then a layer of woven down. I don't like this woven stuff as much. It seems like it wants to get air bubbles under it. You can work and work and work and work and work it, and it still wants to get air bubbles under it. We got it down about as good as we could. There's one spot right there where it wrinkled. What we'll end up doing is using a die grinder, basically kind of grind that down, and then we'll put 2 more layers of woven over the top of it, or mat, excuse me, mat over the top of it. And then you won't even notice that, and it shouldn't really affect the strength any. There's a few other little air bubbles we'll work out, but 2 more layers and then this thing should be done, other than where we got to notch it to clear the door sills where they extend up. But this lip on the fender, since we're joining the fender and the hood together, we want to bolt it on. We're not sure if we're going to fiberglass it on yet or not, but either way we're going to bolt it first. And there's basically no lip here, so the back, this much of the hood, we couldn't clamp it, so it's kind of floppy, you can't see where anything's at. So I'm making a lip here. I got some slick plastic right here with a metal backer under it, and then this has been all roughed up back up to here. So I'm going to put a piece of glass in here and start working on making a lip. We'll probably do 3 or 4 layers of glass, and we'll get a lip put back on here, and then we can bolt the hood to it. But the hood will also need a little bit of a lip added to it, as you can see down here. So after we get the fender done, then we'll have to make a little more of a lip on the hood there, and then we'll be able to bolt everything. And then we'll have to build, we're going to build this all up inside here, because this hits the cowl, so we're going to have to fill that in, and we'll be able to grind that to fit the cowl to our specs. So. Alright, we got this layered up finally. We ended up going with 7 layers total. It's a little bit thicker than here, but we can always grind it down if we need to. And then the plastic just slid right out, left with a real nice smooth surface. We still have to cut this back here to be the right length, but I just lightly cut it off. We had plenty of excess. And then I feathered it back into the fender, and after each layer I would sand it and kind of grind the edges down so it could feather back in and not be a big lumped up mess. And I just now got through putting 1 layer here. We just got to build this corner here up, so I'll just extend it up into the fender just a little ways. So we'll try and get half of that probably done today, maybe more. But then the bad thing is we got to do the same thing over there. And then we also have to build the hood up right there. So still got probably another week or so of fiberglassing before this is ready to go on to the next step. We haven't really done a whole lot of progress other than just work on fiberglass work. I got all our supports in, keep the fender shaped. I've been working on building up the edges here where there was no lips, and then we bolted together. So the edges are all built up now. We still got to grind this to fit the car. Had to build up some more material in here so we'd have room to grind the fiberglass. And then I'm going to put another bolt in the middle of all those. And then I ordered a couple of dies so we can make the support go around the front there for the full tilt part. So we're kind of waiting for that. We're just kind of doing piddly stuff until that shows up. We're still working on the front end here. Been playing around with getting the fender lined up to the door. So I got the door pulled out, lining up with the fender. We had to cut part of our sill out right there to clear the fender because we didn't really account for that when we built it. We're off a little bit, so I'm cutting that out, and I'm going to have to cut a little further back to clear the rocker. Looks like it will clear it back there because the body is clearing it, so somewhere up in here we'll have to cut that. So that's the part we're on, and then we can hopefully start working on the full tilt mechanism. We've pretty much come to the conclusion that we cannot get this door to line up right with the fenders, or with this fender anyways. Looked online, and it's a fairly common problem amongst Studebaker owners that the doors and the fenders don't line up right. Just poor fitmanship and quality, I guess you'd say. You can see I have marked here out. If you look down the fender, you can see it sticks out like a vent. And then back here, that goes right over the top, and it's in. And as you can tell, that's not any fault of the fender. It's just a fault of the way the door is. Now granted that there is bent in a little bit. We'll straighten that out, that's no biggie. But what we're going to probably try and do is slice the inner part of the door underneath there. Pop that out, slice that in, pull it in, and see if we can't get it to line up. We got the hood and the fender sitting pretty close to square with the body. Over here you can see this door and fender are not that bad. This is a little bit low right here. Not sure if we're going to go after that one. We'll see how the other door turns out, but it's real good all through here. And these fenders were both made off of the same mold when I reinforced them with the fiberglass. So it's just a bad door from 1960. There's no getting around it. Also, this here fits better over here than the other side. The other side will not fit this good. And we're just going to have to kind of live with it on the other side. Alright, that's going to do it for this update. There will be more fiberglass front end stuff coming up. I'll put a link to the company that made the front end down in the description if anyone is interested in checking them out. I don't get any kickbacks or nothing, but help you guys out if you need Studebaker parts. They're pretty much the only place I found that had a front end for it. As you know, it's a 53, 54, 55 front end, and this is a 59 Studebaker, 60 Studebaker. So it fit perfectly fine, just a little different style than the 60. I think it actually looks better. So anyways, that's going to do it for this update. As always, thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe.